Greetings, listeners. I'm Z-Man, your host. Here we bring you stories, lessons, and truths that light the way. Hey, shalom. Welcome everybody to the Facts of Light podcast. I am your host with the most, Z-Man, aka Zadok Malak, hitting you back up with another podcast episode. This episode, we're talking about peace. And this is going in line with the series that I'm doing regarding the meaning of words. And today's episode, like I said, is about peace. And the world right now is full of confusion and disorder, from politics to religion to even just our everyday lives dealing with family and friends, even people who we thought were family and friends. Having peace is definitely a necessity right now in this time. What is peace, if you might ask? The definition of peace is found in Strong's H7965 of the Strong's Hebrew Concordance. And it literally means, the Hebrew word, it means shalom or shalom. Okay, the Aramaic term is shalom, but the Paleo-Hebrew original wording for it is shalom. And that means peace, completeness, welfare, well-being, safety, prosperity, safely, like getting to and from somewhere safely, peacefully, right? According to the ancient Hebrew lexicon, it means to be made whole or complete by adding or subtracting. That's very interesting, because a lot of times you need to take away something for something else better to be added onto your life. This is what having peace is about. When a lot of people emphasize about having their peace or protecting their peace, it's usually tied to this subjective, selfish reasoning, usually, because someone or something irritates them. And it's usually due to them lacking a key ingredient to the fruit of the Spirit in their life. Can you guess what it is? I know what it is. Let's see. I'll give you 3 seconds. 2, 1. Ding, ding, ding. Time's up. What'd you get? My answer, and the correct answer, is called patience. Depending on what version of the Bible you got, right? But they fail to realize that guarding or maintaining peace in their life is about denying those egotistical, selfish desires because somebody didn't do what they wanted them to do or something didn't go their way. Okay, so they have to deny those egotistical, selfish desires for what the Father, Most High Yahuwah, desires, which is to do his commandments. By doing so, you are functioning out of this foundation of love instead of lust, which is connected to having an ill, quick, hot-headed temper. Therefore, it's hard for that person to be offended or irritated because Yah keeps them grounded in peace, because they are operating in the love of living out the commandments of Yah all the time. And that scripture that I got here backs it up here. This scripture says Psalms 119, verse 165, and it literally says, "Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them." That's cool. Great peace have they which love thy law. And remember, to love, Yahusha said, if you love me, you would what? Keep my commandments. Okay, so if you love him, you love his law, you're going to keep it. Okay, and nothing shall offend them. And when I break down that word offend, it literally means to be troubled. That word offend means to be troubled. That also ties into the 10 Commandments, which is Exodus chapter 20, verse 4 through 5, which is the second commandment, okay? And that second commandment talks about not bowing down to any images, right? An image is something or someone who is going to come to an end based on the definition of the ancient Hebrew lexicon. Also, the word bow means to make stoop. Okay, it means to make stoop. Better yet, it means to depress yourself. And that can be found in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25. And I'll read that. It says, "Heaviness In the heart of man makes it stoop, but a good word makes it glad. Heaviness in the heart of man make it stoop. That means heaviness is anxiety weighing down the heart of man. And that's a lot of what's going on in today's world right now. A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of depression. Okay. And that's going on in the hearts of people right now as we speak. But a good word cheers it up. Good word cheers it up. And that is definitely the truth. Because when you say the word stoop, it means to depress. So anxiety in the heart makes the person depressed. Anxiety weighs down the heart of a man. It depresses the heart of man. And that's what it is. That's why a lot of people are depressed. It's tied to this link of anxiety, this anxious, being full of care and concern for things that are going to come to an end. How vain is that, right? Empty or worthless. How much of a waste of time that is something or someone that's going to come to an end. That's interesting, because that is exactly what is going on nowadays. Like I said, it's depression, it's bowing down or depressing yourself to an idol. You're idolizing this thing, whether it's material or a person, this image of a person, this image of materials, this not just a statue or carving. That too falls in line with bowing down to images, but it's also can fall in line with people. Something that will eventually come to nothing. Okay, anything that's going to come to nothing it is basically an idol, and that could fall in line with people, things. Like I said, okay. So eventually it will come to nothing, and it can apply to all of these things, like a president, a celebrity, a doctor, a lawyer, or anybody who is considered this type of ruler or person of authoritative office. So in short, that second commandment is saying, don't make any idol or idolization or image of someone or something that will come to an end. And that second half of those two verses, like the second half in verse 5, it says, don't be governed by anything or idolize or an image of someone or something that is going to come to an end. Wow. So, because peace isn't predicated on circumstances or humans, if it's not predicated on that, that means that it has to come from somewhere else, right? The definition means to be in a state of wholeness when it comes to the word peace, in addition to restoring or making right through payment or restitution. This could be done in a variety of ways. According to the ancient Hebrew lexicon of the definition of peace, it could mean making restitution, right? A payment. And one example of this is healing a person, right? If damages are done, you bring healing to that person. And that could be emotional healing, physical healing, right? But then also too, with concerning the whole nation of Yah's people, it could also mean financial healing, right? Because Yah's people, when we come out of the land of our captors, the land of our captivity in these countries where we're all scattered abroad from all four corners of the earth, we will leave out with great substance. That's cool, because the wealth of the wicked is really stored up for the righteous. Am I right? So this definition is also associated with the term healed, which is rapah. Okay. For example, peace be still, which is found in Mark 4:39. Yahusha said, peace be still. In other words, Yahusha, the Son, was saying peace and healing. He was saying shalom rapah. Shalom rapah. That means peace and heal. However, there is more to this definition than it just means peace, okay? So, or even just wholeness or this wellness of your well-being. It's a little more to it, okay? And that's what I'm gonna just go ahead and do. I'm gonna kind of pop open this treasure chest full of wisdom here and see what we get. All right, so let's dig a little deeper. So according to the ancient Hebrew lexicon, the parent and child root, which are the first two letters of the Hebrew words that spell out shalom, right? Because you read from right to left like Japanese writing, it means to draw out, specifically a drawing out of what is needed. That ties into what I said earlier about peace not being predicated on external factors such as circumstances or people, but it comes from within. See, that's where your peace comes from. It's a drawing out of something from within yourself. However, you have to already be full of peace. You already have to be full of that shalom. It's like filling up a gas tank. You already got to have your gas on F full in order for you to draw out the gas to help you get from point A to point B. See what I'm saying? It's the same thing with shalom. It's the same thing with peace, with dealing with people, everyday things in life. You already have to be filled up with that peace. It doesn't and won't just come to you, and it won't just come out of you. The only way you can get that and be able to pull from that is by being led and governed by the true prince, the true ruler of peace, of shalom, which is the son, Yahusha, the Messiah. So let's break down the letters though. I'm going to do it letter by letter, and we'll go from there and see what we get out of it. So the first letter is the Shah, right? For shalom, you got the Shah, and that means to consume, destroy. The numerology is 300. We know that the number 100 represents perfection. If a person constitutes 3 unwavering lines of thought, speech, and action, then he or she is perfect. This person is thus represented by the number 300. All 3 columns are 100%. Okay, that's for the first letter. The second letter, the Lam, right? It represents rod or authority or tongue, teaching. It's also associated with learning, teaching, and guidance. The gematria numerology is 30. It looks like a shepherd's staff, symbolizing guidance and authority. There's letters towering from it, from what is said to represent aspiration and the pursuit of knowledge, reaching upwards toward divine wisdom. It is also the letter 12. It's the 12th letter in the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, the middle letter of the Aleph Ba. It's also said that a man reaches his full strength at this age, which is at the age of 30. Okay? This should also be the age of when a person has mastered the call and or skill in their life and teach others in the process. And you can find that to back up what I'm saying scripture-wise, Matthew 28, verse 19 through 20. And Luke chapter 3, verse 23. So, the letter U, which kind of looks like a I in the Aramaic modern version, but then in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew writing script, it looks like a Y or like this peg, and the way you say it is a U. Okay, for the updated modern version, it translates as this W, but the W didn't exist before the U. The U exists before the W. So that's why if you can even hear it like double U, the U was first, but then they added another U with that U to create a W. So then like when you hear the word, that U sound in Yah's name, like Yahuwah, of course, the modern people call it Yahweh, right? But that's not the correct way to say it. It's Yahusha, because that U is that peg, which is to join, nail, secure. establish, attach, man. The Aramaic pictograph also looks like a hook. It has the gematria numerology of the number 6. It is often associated with imperfection and incompleteness, as it falls short of the number 7, which represents divine perfection and completion. This is exemplified in the 6 days of labor, followed by the Sabbath rest on the 7th day, which you can find, of course, in Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 through 11. In biblical symbolism, the number 6 is often associated with humanity, as a man was created on the what? 6th day, right? Which is in Genesis 1, verse 26 through 31. So, next letter is the mom, right? So, shalom, right? You got the oo, and then you got the mom sound, which represents water, disorder, strength, might, and Messiah. The gematria numerology is 40. This letter is often associated with water, as the Hebrew word for water is mayim. Begins with mem. That's what it sounds like when you say the mom, the mem, it's mem, mom. And like I said, in the Aramaic, it's mem. The symbolic representation of water is deeply connected to themes of life, purification, and divine wisdom in the scriptures. So water and life, right, the mem, association with water is significant in biblical symbolism. Water is a source of life and sustenance, reflecting Yah's provision and the spiritual nourishment found in his word. And in Genesis 1, verse 2, the spirit of Eluah hovers over the waters, indicating the presence of divine life-giving power. Purification and cleansing of water is also a symbol of this thing in the Bible, where the ritual washings and the Old Testament, such as those described in Leviticus, use water as a means of ceremonial purification. This theme is echoed in the New Testament with the concept of baptism, where water signifies the cleansing of sin and believers' new life in the Messiah. And of course, wisdom and revelation. Mem is linked to the idea of divine wisdom and revelation. The flowing nature of water can be seen as a metaphor for the continuous and life-giving wisdom that comes from Eluah, which is God. Proverbs 18 verse 4 states that the words of a man's mouth are deep waters. The fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook, right? Okay. And of course, water can also represent the nations of people. Okay. So let's all make this all make sense, right? Let's make it come together. So when I get the Shah, the Lam, the U, and the Mam, when I get all those letters together based off of those definitions I gave you, put it together, it means to destroy the authority attached to disorder. I'm going to repeat it again. Putting all those letters, individual letters that I went over real quick, putting them together, it comes up with this definition. It says to destroy the authority attached to disorder. I like that. Or it can mean destroy or consume the authority established in disorder. I like that. That's real cool, because that's what it is. You're destroying, when you say shalom, or when you're walking in shalom, when you have this peace about you and in you and flowing out of you, you are literally destroying the authority attached to disorder. And we already know that the Most High is not the author of confusion, right? So if he's not the author of confusion, then who is? Right? It's got to be somebody else. It's one other person that I can think of, right? So when you are walking in peace, operating out of peace, living your life from a place of peace, you are destroying the authority of the enemy, which is attached to disorder and confusion, or established. It's already grounded in disorder and confusion, because a lot of times the enemy has already put his stake in the ground and he's already made camp, right? But because you are operating out of that peace, by the Prince of Peace, you are disrupting and decaying and corroding and erupting the foundation of what authority of disorder is established on. You're breaking it up from the foundation, from the ground up. It's basically, it's like it's being tore up from the floor up. When you operate in peace, you're destroying the authority of disorder and confusion. You're tearing it up. It's being tore up from the floor up. So this also ties in with the Strong's Hebrew Concordance H1696. The Brown Drivers Briggs definition word, dabar, right? That's what it means, dabar, which is word. And that's in Strong's H1696. The meaning of this term is a verb to speak, originally meaning range in order. In other words, to arrange in order, right? You're putting things in order. So by speaking the word of Yah, you place or arrange things in order where there is disorder. I like that. So you have to have peace, shalom, and what? The word, dabar, right? So with peace and the word of the Most High, you are disrupting. First of all, it's an offense. It's like an offense defense type of thing. You are first in the offense of breaking up and disrupting and destroying the authority attached to disorder. And then once you are detaching that spirit that is attached to disorder, right? Or you are detaching the disorder that spirit is using in a given circumstance, situation, or person, then you replace that with order, which is the word of the Most High, Yah. Amazing. So, in conclusion, in order for you to have peace, shalom, which is to destroy or the destruction of authority attached to disorder, you must have the word, dabar, right? To arrange things in order. Of course, Yahusha is the word made flesh. And you can find that in John chapter 1, verse 14, and in Hebrews chapter 1, verses 3. Wow. So, with that being said, everybody, I appreciate you all hanging in there with me for another episode of the Meaning of Words series. I hope that this was helpful and edifying to you and those who are listening. Thank you again. Please have a shalom rest of your time, rest of your day, rest of your night, whenever you or wherever you are listening to this. Continue to stay lit and be that salt that melts the heart of ice cold people. Thank you. I love you all. Z-Man out. This is Z-Man signing off from the Facts of Light. Tune in next time, same channel, and remember, X always marks the spot.